Hi, I'm Courtney Opshaug, CEO of Blue Ocean Gear, and I'm joined for this presentation by Richard Riels, the Executive Director of Smelts. And we'll be talking today about our work with on-water GPS surface marking for ropeless gear. This type of gear marking is really just a piece in the overall process for gear marking for ropeless gear. We know that gear can drift from where it was set off the boat to when it eventually lands on the sea floor. So by combining GPS tracking buoys with ropeless systems, this can allow fishermen to know where their gear is set, but also where and when it surfaces. So Smelts and Blue Ocean Gear have used our technologies together in a system that's been proven to work in multiple fisheries on the East Coast. The Smelt system is a truly ropeless lift bag system that's been tested extensively in various fisheries. Blue Ocean Gear's smart buoys are GPS tracking buoys that are designed to withstand depth and rough conditions while providing position and other sensor data, either via satellite or radio transmission when they're on the surface. And the buoys just attach as a trailer buoy to any main fixed gear, regardless of the configuration. And the combination of sensors can actually be used not only to determine gear moving far from where it was set, but also potentially detect or differentiate entanglement events from other gear loss type events, such as storms or strong currents and tides. By attaching smart buoys onto the Smelt lobster raft system, fishing gear can then be marked upon resurfacing. And this allows fishermen to see their gear even in difficult conditions such as fog or rough seas.
Thank you, Courtney. Hi, Richard Riels, Executive Director of the Sea Mammal Education Learning Technology Society, better known as Smelts. Smelts has been working with the fishermen to develop our ropeless lift bag technology and discover the ways to move into ropeless fishing in the lobster industry and the gillnet industry in the Gulf of Maine. We've been using the smart buoys at the surface to mark the hybrid trawl concept that we've been working on, where we set the gear removing one vertical line and buoy, and we replace that with a ropeless unit. And then we have a surface marking smart buoy on the historic traditional vertical line and buoy. And then on the subsea ropeless unit, we also put a smart buoy that will relocate its verification information when it returns to the surface. It will reconnect to the satellite, populate that location on the Blue Ocean Gear cloud, and it will make it much easier for the fishermen to relocate the gear if the gear is wayward due to storm or picked up by marine life or towed through by other mobile gear. This is a concept we've been working on to understand and better prepare. The next slide is using smart buoys in a complete ropeless operation. On the bottom slide, you can see the gear is set. We have lobster rafts on each end of the trawl. The trawls have a lobster raft with a smart buoy that have gone subsea, and we now have the lobster raft system ready to be recovered. We trigger the gear, the fisherman brings the gear back to the surface, the smart buoy returns to the surface. The smart buoy is the gangin that's actually attached to the lobster raft, and this is what we use to haul the lobster raft back onto the vessel to get the remaining traps that are in the trawl. And the smart buoys as well identify their location and their Latin lawn. And this is another tool that we've been studying to understand if we use terrestrial marking at the surface, is the gear returning in the same location that we pin it with a terrestrial app or marking technology. Hi, in the video we show the lobster raft set on the lobster trawl. The smart buoy is packaged in the lift bag assembly. When the fishermen return to their fishing grounds, they send an acoustic signal. The lobster raft receives the signal, starts inflating the lift bag. The smart buoy pops out of the lift bag. Both units start making their way towards the surface. The lift bag is filling. The smart buoy is the gangin that we use to recover the lobster raft. The fishermen actually will gaff the smart buoy at the surface, They will use the visual acuity of the lift bag, or they will use the lat and lawn location of the smart buoy if the gear is hard to find or it is not in the place that we think it is.
We've had over a dozen units deployed in multiple fisheries at this point, including Massachusetts lobster, Maine gillnet, and a demo with the Washington Dungeness crab fishery. The Massachusetts lobster fishermen have had gear deployed for several months now, and the fishermen have determined the configuration that works best with their gear and their setup, and has allowed them to get used to the operations with the ropeless gear. So what we're looking at here is a map display of where all the different buoys are, the ones that are on the surface. The green markers, each one represents a buoy. The blue ones are ones that have just been resurfaced, and red means it has moved beyond a certain threshold for a surface gear. And a cloud-based database contains all of the sensor data as well, including the GPS positioning for each buoy. And while we've shown an overview map here, typically each fisherman only sees their own gear unless there is an agreement for data sharing. So when ropeless gear resurfaces, the buoys can provide information on where the gear is, which can facilitate retrieval in difficult visibility conditions or if gear is moved. In addition, the data is provided on how long the gear has been underwater, as well as to what depth. And so again, this can help fishermen go to their gear more quickly, as well as get more of that operationally useful information. We did have one particular instance where gear was able to be tracked over quite a large distance when Hurricane Elsa came through. A depression off the coast of Massachusetts caused the line attached to the buoy to break free, and we were able to track it throughout the hurricane until it washed ashore on Cape Cod. It happened to be retrieved by someone who was in the area at the time and saw it, but also Rob Martin, the fisherman who was using the gear, was able to track where it had gone and was able to meet up with the individual to get the smart buoy back. And it was back out on the water in service within about a week of this occurring. So the smart buoys can be used to track gear through very challenging and difficult conditions, whether it's due to a storm or an entanglement or other strong conditions out on the oceans. Locating gear at the surface has the potential to reduce retrieval time and determine how much gear is moved while underwater and display relevant information to users. Working together between Blue Ocean Gear and Smelts and all of the commercial fishermen that have been involved in this effort has really developed a practical system that can be used today, and we look forward to continuing the development. Thanks very much.